Sidekick Media Services. We are your sidekick in business for social media, video production, and more. Find out more at sidekickmediaservices.com.
Hello, friends. I'm your pal in the mainstream media.
And I'm your Riz.
And you know, Riz, it takes years of strenuous, dedicated training before you're worthy to step inside a professional wrestling ring. But it takes even more time to develop complex, highly astute opinions about professional wrestling. Am I right?
That is correct. You know where we can find that?
Yes,
On the Wrestling Ham.
that's right.
Sidekick Media Services. We are your sidekick in business for social media, video production, and more. Find out more at sidekickmediaservices.com.
Hello, friends. I'm your pal in the mainstream media.
And I'm your Riz.
And you know, Riz, it takes years of strenuous, dedicated training before you're worthy to step inside a professional wrestling ring. But it takes even more time to develop complex, highly astute opinions about professional wrestling. Am I right?
That is correct. You know where we can find that?
Yes,
On the Wrestling Ham.
that's right.
This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by Slice on Broadway, supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza. Production services by Sidekick Media Services. And listeners like you, supporting us at patreon.com/awesomecast. Time to get geeky, get awesome. It is the AwesomeCast. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on the social media of all kinds here in the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I forgot to put a camera up so you can see how Christmassy it is in here. You're going to have to look at my Instagram at Sorgatron over there to see the pictures from there. I was a Christmas tree. We'll get into that some other time, I'm sure. We got plenty of time this month, but also with me hanging out, decking his own halls all by himself is Dave Potter of the iPhoneography Podcast. You know what? It's just the two of us again after we had everybody on. I think we had everybody on last week, right?
Yeah, we did.
For Turkey Day. It was like a good old Thanksgiving roundtable, wasn't it? It's like the good old days when people weren't busy all the damn time on Tuesdays. So, how you doing, Dave? How was your Thanksgiving?
Doing good.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I just noticed that my little cut I did when I shaved myself is really showing up on camera really good.
Zoom decided that's another face that needs to be shown and de-blurred, apparently. So, not a blemish, just a little bit of a cut. He's fine, folks.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Everything's good. Everything's good.
Everything's okay at home, sir?
We're all good.
Okay.
Everything's fine here.
Anyways, this is the AwesomeCast. We get into some geeky, techie things. Who knows? Potter, let's have you go first.
Okay. So this to me is something that's kind of neat. It's a company called, and let me actually get to the company information here, Near Space Labs. So right now, if you wanted to, well, first of all, everyone thinks how and it is wonderful we have all these satellite images, but satellites go in a particular orbit. And to change the orbit of a satellite is exceptionally hard and takes a lot of energy. Ignore science fiction. You cannot just hit a thruster and turn and bank.
Oh,
It
so
doesn't work that way.
no Guardians of the Galaxy rules here, right?
Pretty much,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things you learn is when you learn about orbital mechanics, that changing an orbit at all is a lot of energy. So that's why when people say, well, why can't we throw a satellite over it? Satellites go over particular orbits and they really don't like to change them. So then you have drones, which can be very useful. This company's working for like insurance claims after natural disasters. The problem is that drones have to fly back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this company has basically they're using weather balloons to put up robotic AI powered cameras. So the idea is, well, right now what they're doing is they're putting it up there. And since it's a balloon, you don't have an engine that you have to refill every so often or a battery that'll run out. So you can just put the balloon up there. And they said each balloon can do an area a size of around New York City when it's doing its thing. So it's a pretty large area. And they can put up a balloon, let's say disaster happens. Everything they say they need for there can basically be put down to a suitcase. You can put a balloon up. You can see the damage in the area. Get it sent back to, there we go. Get it sent back to the insurance companies, so people can see what happened there, and make it a lot quicker and easier. And what they're doing now, because they don't have quite enough infrastructure, they're going beforehand and seeing the risks that are involved. So you're taking a picture overhead, you're saying, okay, this house is here, there's a hill behind it here, there's a new clearing here. So there could be a flood issue here, there could be this here, there could be a fire issue here, there could be other things that go along, when they look at the damage in an area. So, and then after it happens, they can say, okay, here's before and after. So you can say, well, this was damaged before, and now they're claiming for it afters. Now, it sounds a little bit mean, but it's, wonder if people are actually gaming the system and try and get things fixed that didn't break. That's when our rates go up.
Yeah.
The people who are actually trying to follow the rules and not scam the system. And I have no love for the insurance industry, but I understand they have to do this. And honestly, if this can help get a good feel, and this is a smallish company, so you're not talking a large infrastructure, it's millions of dollars, but it's not hundreds of millions of dollars that had to be invested to get this to grow.
Right.
So, and also I like the fact that what they're calling their robotic cameras are Swifts.
See, Swifts?
Swifts.
Okay.
Yes. SWIFTS. Now, I imagine they may have thought about calling them Swifties, but
I'm noticing a trend in some of the stuff you've been posting this week. But we'll get to that other one in a little bit here. Okay. So this actually just reminds me of, a while ago on the show, like I did a project where there was this company that did land surveying out in Somerset. And it's like, again, about a decade ago when drones were just starting to come up, and it was a wing drone that kind of did surveying and stuff like that. So this sounds like this is a less like, this is like a different version of that with the balloon system, right?
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. And honestly, there's good parts with good and bad with each of these, but it's just another option. They say they've already flown 1,000 commercial missions right now to assess risk, but
Good.
they're ramping up for disaster response.
Cool. Cool.
So it's not just, well, here's an idea we have.
Yeah.
And in 3 to 5 years, we may actually, no, they have paying customers using this service.
And
A good applied thing for insurance companies. We're going to front something like this, and that's something that can boil down to something that you and I may use on a consumer basis as well, or prosumer, honestly, depending on things. If there's any applications for a company like mine. So very cool. That is Dave Potter's. It's in 1 year. I'll fix that in post. Forgot to plug that. Did left here again. Anyways, let's get into my awesome thing of the week. Again, I'm just again. We talked about last week what we were thankful for on the show, and just I love that there's new tools popping up. I love the growing process of certain things, and things like the Blue Sky Mastodon and everything else going on social media right now is that. Also, I love it because Twitter has been shut down for so long with their APIs. And even before, the one guy took over, they were really kind of like pulling in on all their APIs, which means you couldn't do quite as much. You couldn't dig into things. They're shutting it down so they can make you pay for features that aren't even as good as the original features. So this is another one, we were talking about multi-post with Croissant and Microblog, but the one that came up this week, and I feel like I didn't get as much play with it as some friends of mine who tried theirs out. This is a website app called Clear Sky. And
the idea is you log in here with your Blue Sky account, and it's going to do, give you a look at your feed and everything like that. But it gives you really cool, if you're like, hey, am I on some lists? So there's that really cool thing with Blue Sky where, you can set up kind of these starter pack lists. And look, I'm on Dave Podner's starter pack. Look at that. And also True Prince of Pro, who is a big contributor with the wrestling side of things, made a Pittsburgh wrestling community, who I think has been a big reason why I've been getting a lot of follows on Blue Sky from definitely a certain community over the last couple of weeks. So it's very cool to see that. And if you pop up on any other ones, and then there is also like you have your blocking and blocked by on here as well. So like in like a friend of mine, like I don't know who this is. It seems like they block everybody. Actually, I think there's something, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check here. I'm pretty sure there's somebody that's been basically blocking everybody on Blue Sky so they can get on this list. Oop,
there I am. Sorry, I got John on the camera for the moment.
Let's say you were talking about John there blocking everyone.
No. But no, it just feels like somebody the front page
gives you like the top blockers and the top blocked people. So if you want to be like, oh, this person's probably not great. Also, I am kind of I don't know what Brianna Wu did because I thought she was. We don't have to get into it. But it was
somebody that I know from podcasts and stuff. So I was kind of surprised to see them on the block list. So I don't know what community's mad, but that's worth investigating at some other time. But again, it's kind of another way to sort of
take a look at your Blue Sky account and everything too, right? And they got some. Here you go. We got some stats and graphs. So we love stats and graphs around here. 48.4% have been of people on Blue Sky have been blocked by at least one person. 42.53% is blocking someone on Blue Sky. So there you go. Deleted. So we have 23,000. Oh, and it's got an active account counter. We're up to 23 million accounts over on Blue Sky. And deleted. I don't know if this is just deleted. People that have deleted their accounts on Blue Sky is like 1 million. But there you go. So, and hey, here's the person that created this over on Blue Sky. If you want to, just in case. I don't know if that's a real name or not, because they say they were born in 1906. But there you go. But yeah, no. So it's clear.sky if you're interested to follow that. I think it's a pretty cool map. And again, just something else from. Oh no, I got her again.
I'm used to being on that button. I swapped the cameras when I set them back up this week. Anyways, that's our intern John, who's going to help us out in the community. Keep an eye on what's going on in the chat rooms and everything, because I already have too many jobs, and hopefully get a little bit of community going over there. So something we're trying out here as well. So and speaking of, should at least get in that Facebook chat room with you guys, huh? So, yeah, no, if you're here with us live or checking out the live afterwards, we're making sure to try to make sure links of things that we're talking about are making it into the chat room so you can check those out, follow along, go investigate them, along the way as well. So, really appreciate it. First night on the job too. So, but yeah. So
that helps out knowing that front page, because I saw that there are right now 6 people blocking me for whatever reason.
Yeah, and who knows?
And
you
3
do
of the
get
people
opinionated.
blocking me-
You do get opinionated.
Oh yeah. But 3 of the people blocking me are on the top 5 blockers.
Oh yeah, I think there's some people
we're suspicious that some people are like blocking everybody to get on these lists or something like that, right? Like they're just literally blocking everybody on a thing. So I wouldn't think too much of it, and even this
Also,
account.
some of these people blocked me back in September of 23, before Blue Sky took off.
Yeah. Oh,
So, yeah.
Did you see, like, you can actually
see, and I don't know if you can just kind of pull up other people on there. I can't remember if I fully log.
Like, you don't need to log in. You do not need to log in.
You don't need to log in. All you need is a username, and you can investigate, like, hey, who's this person blocked by? I noticed in the corner I do have,
registered, as my account in August of 2023, mushroom migration. I don't know what that means. So I think it's just they kind of moved hosts or something like that. So was they were upgrading and things like that. So that's pretty cool. And so yeah, so actually I can click this, and what happened? I clicked that person, and it's in a loading screen. And it's just a bunch of gobbledygook numbers, but there is something that looks like a wrestling thing in there, so I wasn't sure. But no, it just looks like it's numbers, honestly. So, but anyways. Oh, yep.
Nope. They're all the buttons. Yeah, go check that out if you want to kind of dig into that. And if I can throw an update here, since I'm talking social media in the meantime, now that I've used it a little bit more, I can give a little more in-depth thoughts on microblog.
Micro.blog. So I've been kind of enjoying this. I finally kind of figured out my sequence. Croissant is for everything that's not my personal accounts to do multi-posting. And the thing that was pulling me back on microblog is I have my LinkedIn in there. And the stuff I want to post to, like Blue Sky, I don't necessarily want on my LinkedIn page, or I wanted to make. And also, when I post to LinkedIn, it was just given a link if there's any images, and that's a no-go for me. I got to have native images on a platform like that, right? So I finally disabled that, and for those that aren't familiar, microblog is a service where it kind of gives you a home page. It's what they call Posse. I was listening to something they were talking about it like yesterday. Posse, post once, distribute everywhere, send everywhere. Post once, send everywhere, I think is what it means. The idea that you post at one place, which won't shut down because you're paying for it, paying $5 a month for this thing. And then it goes out to your, ideally it would be your Twitter, Mastodon, Tumblr is on here, LinkedIn, kind of thing. It's that kind of federated idea, decentralized idea. That way, all of your messages, all of your microblogs, all of your thoughts don't go away when somebody scoops one of these up, or they shut down, or something else happens to it, or your account gets blocked for something that is just or unjust. You at least say, well, I'm still over here, and I'm going to reconnect that to the new post-a-majiggy thing. Show title? And do that kind of thing. So it's a little more fleshed out here. So far, it seems like if you poke through it, like there's a feed here. So if there's people you follow, and I really only follow like Leo Laporte because they're the ones that were talking about this initially. Instance like I posted on here my misspelled post here about what we did on Saturday with the Jagoff parade, right? So that went out pretty much natively to all three. Again, my Mastodon, Blue Sky, and Threads is what I'm really kind of concentrating on right now. And you do get your tags and everything at least through Blue Sky. So we have Dutters is responding to something in here. The parts where I've tagged myself through the podcast, like Mayhem Show and AwesomeCast, are through here. And now what you end up with is, that's my timeline. Where's my page? And you can build this out to make sure, like, it can really just kind of be your blog, right? And I think if I just go microblog micro.blog/Sorgatron, there you go, or at Sorgatron at microblog or anything like that. So that's your page, and you can customize this a little bit as you, and it has its own kind of base and plugins. You may ask yourself, why am I not just using WordPress for this? Well, WordPress does a little bit more, and I feel like WordPress gets a little too crazy for us. So there you go. So again, another function, if you want that kind of landing page, if you're doing something like Croissant, it doesn't have that landing page thing. It just sends everything out and then it just disappears. Right. So it depends on what the task is.
Have that base that's not connected to another social media platform.
And if go ahead.
Okay, I heard a story on the Tech Sean podcast where we know that the Onion bought Alex Jones InfoWars. And part of that buying was buying the social media at InfoWars.
You would think.
But Twitter said, no, we own at InfoWars. You can, it's not part, Alex Jones never owned it for it to be up in the bankruptcy court. So you didn't buy that.
Yeah.
So really, you may think, oh, I own, let's say for me, Prof Pod, you own Sorgatron. No, you don't. You are basically no cost renting space there at all these platforms, but they can say, oh, yeah, you're removed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, why? Or, literally, like Sorgatron Media is a company. It isn't you personally. And you're like, well, I'm, expanding out, or I'm selling to this other thing, and I'm going to transfer the rights from me or from, Sorgatron Media, Sidekick Media, whoever owns it, to this new company. Social media platforms say, no, you're not allowed to do that. Or we have to give you the permission to do that. So, like you said, having that micro.blog as a home base, that's important, because you have to have something you own.
So in a few
ways to think about that.
A few ways to think about that is, you have, maybe they were giving over the rights to use our brand on this platform. You know what I mean? Don't think about it like, we gave you the Twitter account. We gave you basically permission to use that Twitter account. Now, I don't think there's anything that, that stops them from taking over the Twitter account, unless they're like, we're not giving you the login, in which case you can say, cool, we own your trademark and we can file that suit. You know what I mean? It does give you ammunition to say, you can't use this because that's our trademark. Like absolutely. If I trademark Sorgatron and, somebody else, it doesn't come over and something like that, I can be like, cool, you can't use that. You can't use that name. You're going to have to change the name. You can have the account and all the followers, but you can't use the name. So where is the value? And again, this is nothing new. This is something that's in the terms of services, right? Likely, I imagine. But I'm sure there's something that says, yeah, you don't really own crap on these platforms. And also, we have rights to do whatever we want with whatever you put this. Somebody reminded us that anything you put on YouTube, you give up rights to. Any video you put on any platform, you give up rights to. That is the function of putting it on a platform. You need to understand that. If you want to wholly own that nobody else can possibly do. Now, does YouTube do a lot with it? No. It gives them the rights to put it on a server and distribute it, right? But it also does give them a de facto right to take your video and put it in an advertisement for YouTube. If Mr. Beast potentially is probably not compensated if they put them in an ad, on the Super Bowl for YouTube or Google or something, right? If they want him to come in and do something special, I'm sure they'll pay for it, or Justine or anybody like that, maybe they paid all those people when they did the rewind videos every year that were terrible. But yeah, it's just kind of a, but they're saying it out loud, which reminds everybody, and this is probably a bad time to remind everybody. And I don't know how those shake out with things like Mastodon and Blue Sky. I believe when we're on Mastodon, we're on our own server. So I'm pretty sure I make the rules.
Right. Yeah, it's a little different. You can actually.
So Dave, if you post on SorgatronMedia.social, I own you. I own your shit. So there's our one swears.
But also, since I'm a patron the
Yes.
hostess and mayhem show, I'm your boss.
Yes. It's a circular, it's a circular thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of that thing where I had to explain to somebody, you don't own the footage you hired me to shoot, right? Because you never put anything in a contract about the rights ownership. Therefore, it defaults. The wedding photographer owns the photos, not the person that paid for the photos to get taken. And to the point where it's like, yeah, but we own the event and the logos. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I can tell you not to use the footage, but you can tell me not to use something with your logo. Like, we can shut each other down. But the point is, we have to work together on this, So, and that's as far as I understand. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert. I do listen to a lot about copyright and trademark because of my given profession. But, it is something to understand. Like, do you fully own something? Now, again, I tag everything Creative Commons when we do these shows. Because in a perfect world where we're doing like amazing, and I want you to take things that we've said and make TikTok remixes out of them, please do this. World out there, I want you to go do that, and I don't want anybody to have any fear of doing that. If something we're saying is educational, we've had people that have we've interviewed on the shows for products. They've taken the clip of the section where we were talking with them and just reposted on their site, and that's absolutely fine. Because you know what is still there? That logo right there. That logo right there. That at over there, I can say Twitter, but it's kind of just everything now, isn't it? That logo over there for the studio,
Yeah, the Patreon account on the upper bit,
Yeah, like it's still the essence of it is there, and it's still benefiting us even if you use it. So like that's kind of the grand idea of that. So again, just kind of an educational. This is a teaching moment for those kinds of things. So thank you for reminding that as we all remove from that. I'm going to have a social media tip at the end. I put this out in a post earlier this week and got a little bit of response to it, and I'd like to have a little conversation about it with you, Dave, at the end about what exactly you are doing with some old accounts and whether or not you should be deleting them. But in the meantime, that concludes our... I'm getting better at using those, Kid Metal. And I want to thank our friends that are supporting the show at patreon.com/awesomecast that do submit to the show. And therefore you are, we do extend, I think I put a post out when we first set it up, but I'll remind you, if you are a part of the Patreon, you are invited to get on our server at sorgatronmedia.social and participate that way if you need a way into Mastodon and want a cooler server than handle than just mastodon.social like everybody else in the world. So I'm still using my twit.tv because I think that feels pretty cool as a fan of twit.tv. It's bad. I don't have a personal account on my own personal server. So, but I know Dave Podner does, and thank everybody that does support the show. Patreon.com/awesomecast. We do have a live feed there that goes on before we even go live to the main show. And usually, if it's something like if I'm complaining because I just got a blue screen of death on my computer 4 minutes for the show, you're gonna find out about it, and it's still gonna stream to you because that's on a different system. So redundancy is key, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, thank you everybody that does support the show over there. Cynthia Klosky, as well as Michael Fedor, John DeGore, and Dave Podner. Oh, I forgot. I thought you had a sounder. I'm sorry. I was about to hit a button. I think I almost hit chill it instead.
Boop, boop.
What, you okay over there?
Yeah, I'm booping a button here.
Well, it's weird because your microphone is also blurred out, so your arm is just disappearing off the side.
Yeah, it depends if I get them close to the microphone, it picks it up. If I go away,
Zoom is so weird.
It blurs
sometimes.
it out.
Anyways, we got some news. I got a button for that though, somewhere.
Yep, it's the news.
There we go. Also, it was great hanging out with Kid Metal. He was part of that Jagoff Not Your Average Parade. You can go see that. It's over on Trib Live as well as over on the Jagoff Facebook and YouTube accounts if you want to see how that went. So Dave.
Dork.
You're posting weird stuff on the group again. Okay, can we talk about
no.
this? Can we talk about what you're doing
I did
here?
not create
Hold
this.
on. Let's draw the visual, and then Dave, it is up to you to describe this thing for our audio listeners, because I'm not going to. So you got this situation over here. What am I looking at, Dave?
Well, Duolingo has their year in review, like most sites or apps or stuff you
Mm-hmm.
sign up for.
Mm-hmm.
And they this year started off with Duolingo Music, so you can learn some music like you do with Spanish or math,
Okay.
or I should say languages, math, and music now. And as a thing, it says I rocked out with so much experience point in Duolingo Music, and they created a female version of Duo, the owl,
Mm-hmm.
with long blonde hair, looking away from us with the pink eyeshadow on it.
I don't know.
That
I don't know that we've ever gendered duo. Have we?
well, no,
Like
we have
officially? I'm
we
not
have
aware of
not.
it.
No, I don't think we have.
Yo, duo can do whatever they want.
Oh yeah, yeah, and Duo the owl, the mascot, is most of the time sans clothing,
Mm-hmm. It's naked.
naked. However, this
Naked
Duo
owl.
is wearing a pink.
I'll call that a leotard.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I said that weird,
it's a
but
pink
yes.
leotard. Yeah, and looking at us almost like a come hither look over its
Oh, that's just
shoulder.
for you, Dave. That's just for you.
Oh, I realize that, yes. But it's your review. It's nice to get these things. However, as I'm scrolling through the Duolingo, it's like, oh, you've done this much, you've done this much. And all of a sudden, they put stats up. I'm like, okay, you're getting creative with your graphic design here.
But you know what? It worked. There you
Oh
go.
yeah.
Tell
Oh,
me,
yeah.
I want to know more about this. Tell me more about the. So, is it about reading music?
It's actually reading and playing.
Okay.
So basically, you have an on-screen keyboard,
Mm-hmm.
and it will have just it's the upper, not the bass notes, but the upper notes, and it will have it basically you play along with it.
Hmm.
And so it'd have like ding 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 ding. Okay, like okay, so you hit the notes and you repeat it, and then sometimes the notes show, and sometimes they only play the sound, and you have to hit the
Very
right
cool.
keys on the keyboard underneath. And I have not gotten that advanced.
Yeah, this is getting a little. I will.
Yeah.
So fun fact. While I was definitely in, I've had a few musical endeavors myself, but I can read.
Yes.
I can read music. I can read music to the point where I know what the sound's supposed to be on a trombone, but I can't tell you much more than that. You know,
Okay.
I knew just what I needed to know to play a trombone. And like I played by ear basically. So it never had to get into. I would be knowing that I do have a bass. I'm really curious because I would love to have taken the time to play a piano or something like that. Like my mother does like bells and things like that, and knows how to play a piano and things. I was in here with Kid Metal and what's his name? AJ Small that was here. Not AJ Small, something Small. AJ Small's a photographer, I think. But yeah, for last time they were in here doing music and everything. So it was very 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 flexible with music and everything like that, right? So I'd be really curious to kind of get into that a little bit if I found myself with the
it's
time and
fun.
effort to do that.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. And the other thing is, of course, Duolingo is still a bit of a nag.
Oh, are you still getting bullied? Wait, is the sad goth girl still there bullying you as well, like over on the
But
Spanish lessons?
The sad goth girls is occasionally there, but
Okay.
it also has when I'm doing my Spanish or it says, well, here's your daily task to do, and it's like do 3 math lessons. I'm like, okay, I'll do 3 math lessons. They're like basic, but. And I don't know if how advanced their math goes. But occasionally you'll say, oh, your friend Sorg hasn't been on in a while. Do you want to remind him to try Duolingo?
Don't remind me, okay?
Don't
remind me. I'm done.
No.
I know.
Yeah.
No. That bird is dead and his bones, and it showed me the bones of the bird several times. I moved on. I'm sorry. I just couldn't do it. I'm just like, you know what? I'm in my 40s. I'm not going to learn a new language.
Yeah, and I have to say, I actually had a real life test of the Spanish I've been doing Duolingo for almost 4 years now, and I have failed miserably.
I would say just come by here and go
It-
get
it
a
was
taco.
No,
Let me know how it
I,
goes.
I was on a sales call with one of our salespeople who was
Oh.
calling a university in Ecuador.
Mm.
And there were around 20 people on the call. And of course, everyone's speaking Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Our salesperson's from Peru, I believe, a South American country. So,
Sure.
her Spanish is her first language. She speaks English very well. Not a backhanded compliment. Yeah, but I'm trying to listen, and I hear a word or two which I understand. I understand the vocabulary, but by the time I can get the vocabulary, remember what it is, they're already on 3 sentences down.
Yep. It's like you can learn it, but are you? There's a difference between that and being practical and immersive, right?
Right.
So, I had the same thing. Like I did have a moment where I wish I did do more Duolingo when we were teaming up with the Brazilian team doing the live stream up at Michigan Speedway in the spring. I was just like, oh, I wish I wish I was up on this so I could know what's going on a little bit. So there was a lot of, because we had a team back, they had a team back home when I was doing things and interfacing, and didn't always have somebody there that could help me out as the in between. It was just kind of, as things go for a first time kind of project. But yeah, it was definitely very educational about what holes I need to fill. So. Anyways, let's get into some more stuff. Hey, this is nice. One big concern, like I have this now because the Xbox 360 just had a thing where they shut down their store, and there's a lot of games over there, or even games that are sitting on my shelf I wish I could play on my Xbox One, or frustrated because I realized I got a no disc version of the Xbox Series S and everything like that, right? And it's like, oh man, I still like to play like this, and it just you just can't, But it's nice to see this is happening now. Again, just for a little background, so Blizzard, who is now, by the way, there's Christmas lights on the tee. I was just going by. Sorry, I was just listen. I'm very distracted by Christmas things right now. But anyways, so Blizzard just announced and released a new battle chest where they had mostly remastered or redone their original Warcraft trilogy, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3. Kind of stuff. The first two were 2D. The last one was actually 3D. It's an RTS. RTS? Yeah, an RTS game. And one of the ones I loved growing up on, right? So apparently as part of that, they also had informed GOG.com, which is Good Old Games is what it goes by. It was actually by Project Red that did the Cyberpunk series. So they were delisting the original versions of these games. Now the games are also the original versions are included in the remaster battle chest, which is about $40, but they're going for like $6-10 over on GOG for the original versions. While they are going to have to be delisted, so I think they gave a couple $1 discount if you want to grab them now. But GOG says that has a big thing that they're making of this, that they're dedicated to the preservation of games. What does that mean? Even though those games are delisted, regardless of being listed or not, if you have purchased them, as we get to Windows 11, Windows 12, whatever, to make sure it does still work with that. That is their dedication to the preservation program. So, and I guess they're I think this has always been the case, but they are reiterating this since this is just such a big key game. They have no control over the delisting. That's Blizzard's call on that thing. They're licensing that thing. Good thing is they're not making you take it away from everybody that bought it, which is something that's happened with digital media before, right? Literally.
Yeah. So they don't have to. So even though it's not, it won't be available. But it's not like take it down or else.
Yeah, I mean, Apple is actually becoming really bad with this because there's games that I purchased on previous phones that I can't play anymore for any reason, right? And I will address something that happened in the YouTube comments here, and this is just something to be aware of. Remember the doohickey that we talked about 10 episodes ago?
Oh, yeah.
Remember this thing? Is the cameraman doohickey app that we got from, I think it was like $2 on the discount rack over on in Dollar General somewhere that Missy picked up for me. So, hey, this is the thing you put your phone on and it's supposed to follow your face and actually like move on a pivot, kind of thing and follow you, kind of deal, right? But you need to download the doohickey app. And somebody started commenting on all of our videos about it and says, you downloaded the app? How did you download the app? And I went to look and I was like, it's not in the App Store. And even though like it's something I purchased, it will not allow me to download the app anymore. So again, and this is something that happens with games. I had purchased a WWE game. They had remade the old WrestleFest game with new characters about 10 years ago, and bought it on an iPad. I think it was an iPad 3. And THQ went out of business. Can't re-download that game. Doesn't matter that I purchased it. Does not matter. Could not download it on a new device. It is gone. I bought all the expansion packs. That was only about $15 of stuff, but still, that still puts a sour taste in your mouth when it comes to something like that.
It does, and that's why you're really just renting the games. You're really not buying games.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean that's worth consideration. And again, that's why I put money. This is why I don't buy Nintendo products because I don't trust them. But Microsoft, while yes, there are some things that don't come over, a vast majority of things like has crossed over. If you bought anything in the Xbox One era, it's working on the series. Most of the major things on Xbox 360 would be over there until you get like, I want to play Deadpool. Yeah, you're gonna have to buy a disc and play it on a 360. You know what I mean? Like things like that, and that's I understand like how tough that is, but but there are abandonware sites and things like that when it comes to PC games and things like that, and then physical media is not always the answer when it comes to games because it's still a compatibility issue. I have original copies of Warcraft 2. What do I have that's going to play it that's functional? Do I have to build a Pentium 2 in order to do it? God, it's actually older than that, isn't it? I actually probably can I get a 486 for this thing? It's just like there's kind of an impossibility with that. As emulators and things, I'm sure that you can. There's DOSBox. I can probably load it. I don't have a disk drive, guys.
Well, you must say, yeah, you really. I mean, that is one thing. It's really hard to find a computer with either with literally a CD drive or DVD. Well, so, and they're getting hard to find.
Yeah, they are. They are. Unless you're Katie and found one in her office with that that super drive last week. So, anyways, well, that's again, that's one of those trials and tribulations of emerging technologies. So, but that's how vinyl still happens. Potter, this looks like a less than awesome story that you put in here, but I guess kind of an awareness situation too, right?
Right.
I have some things that Verge came up in another discussion I was listening to this week, and I thought it was really interesting to kind of do a look back on what they've been changed up in their things. But tell me what you're kind of concentrated on right now.
Sure. The fact that Verge is putting some of their information behind a firewall.
Okay.
So it's not
firewall, a paywall, right?
A paywall. I'm sorry,
okay.
Paywall.
So you told me a firewall before the show. I'm like, who are they being who's attacking the Verge? I know. Where can we start? There's a lot of candidates right now.
That would be true, but yeah. So they're going to put a paywall out. They're going to put some. They didn't say what, but some of the contents behind the paywall. So I don't know if it's going to be, maybe the long form stuff, the stuff that wouldn't get as many hits. They're putting behind the paywall. I could see that. Or, here's our review of the iPhone 17 Air. But if you want really, you can see the website complaining about going behind a paywall. It says, can you sign up for our list, please?
That's not a paywall. That's just an annoyance pop-up.
Exactly.
And semaphore that we're looking at.
Basically, they just like all media, they have to make money.
Yeah.
And the thing is they said, we want to own the kind of what we were talking about earlier. They want to own the content. If they put everything up on Twitter, or they put everything up on Facebook or Blue Sky or whatever, they don't own that. So the only if you don't want to just drive more and more eyeballs for the people you do get, you're going to have to give them quality, and you're saying, okay, this is good quality information.
Mm-hmm.
It costs money to produce this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as you hear a lot of people say, I can't go and pay for my rent and exposure. Hey, social media person, are you going to pay me for this? No, but you'll have great exposure. That's nice. I have food I have to buy. Will your exposure of my content buy my food? No, pay me money.
Yeah,
So
these
I
guys
understand the reasoning.
these guys have to run, and so many of the media companies are battling with us between dealing with ad blockers and other things like that. I am kind of curious if the I want to see where as this develops where the delineation between content's going to be. Because The Verge is one of my favorite like tech websites, honestly. But
Well,
you know what I don't do? You know what I don't do? I don't go to theverge.com typically. I'm in Apple News. Yes. So I'm curious if they are going to be a participant with their paywall stuff, because Apple News provides certain things that are behind paywalls, like Wall Street Journal. There's some, like not all of it, but I think you can get more of it through Apple News and things like that. Like we do have Apple News Plus. We get like the whole Apple. I pay for the entire Apple One crazy subscription, so my entire family will have it. So that's where I find the value in paying that every month, because I'm definitely not doing it myself for just me, right? But anyways, no, but I think that's going to be really interesting to see. Another side, talk about how The Verge kind of does things different. They're trying different things, and again, good or bad, this is and no matter what, if the article behind the paywall is of any value, it's going to be reiterated in somebody else's article. Okay, that's like, or a podcast is going to talk about it or whatever. There's a bunch of websites. I would love to, what was it? The Information is one that you pay a good penny for some technology-based articles with very good, deep reporting. I'm not going to pay for that thing, but I listen to the podcast with one of the writers on it, and I listen to a podcast where they do pay for it, and they talk about the things that they're talking about. So I'm fine with the filter, okay, on that kind of thing. And it's also through podcasters that I trust, through Information, and through Talking Heads that I trust, and have listened to for well over a decade, right? And if they bring somebody on, I trust that it's somebody that they trust. So, it's good. The other thing that I thought was interesting was this one idea about apparently they were talking with somebody that works at The Verge, I believe on Twitter this Week in Tech, and they were talking about how Dinah Patel, who is the figurehead at The Verge that we were just talking about, apparently they made a kind of a note at one point: if you are writing for us, why would you post your thoughts on a platform for free like a Twitter, Blue Sky, etc., and give them that when we can have all of those in our site? And you notice there's a big shift with The Verge a year or so ago, a bit ago, right? Within the last couple of years. Where it resembles more of a social media feed if you look at theverge.com, right? So there is like, it is very open like that. There is this Twitter. What is this? Is this actually Twitter? What am I looking at here with Fortnite Studios? Whether they are, obviously they're embedding things as news items, like from like Fortnite, for instance, right? As part of this, but this isn't an article. This is extra XP. Fortnite's new Japanese theme season is excellent. By Jay Peters 32 seconds ago, right? This is a tweet. This is a skeet. This is whatever you want to call it. Right. Maybe it's a veet at Verge. I don't know. But like that's you need to go to theverge.com. This isn't getting syndicated to Apple News, right? This is them reacting to something, thoughts on something. This just happened. It's not a full post surrounded by a bunch of ads. It's their page that, if I didn't have an ad blocker, would probably be surrounded by a bunch of ads on it, to be quite honest. Like it's just this, it's a micro news site. And from, again, in a lot of cases, people you're going to trust that right here, that maybe you've been following for a good while. It's one site that I believe into, but I don't go into this all the time. And, I think but they're trying something different, and it seems to be working with them. And I don't think they're going to do this just because everybody else is, right? And I think their strategy is going to be different than what you see from a Wall Street Journal, New York Times,
Right.
whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
WashPo, it's always been a very forward-thinking company, and I'm excited to see what they do and if it's going to be a format for other future distributions as well. So,
Well, the other thing to remember is, The Verge does not own The Verge, if you will. They're under Vox Media.
right.
They're a part of a larger corporation. So, and Vox Media is also the owner of SB Nation.
And
So this is a
and
very
Axios,
large,
and Axios.
a very large company. So it isn't just the Verge staff saying, sorry, hair in my eye. It isn't just the Verge staff saying, well, our numbers look like this, we need to do it. I'm sure it's someone from Vox Media saying, okay, subsidiary, you need to think about, here's something that we want you to look at.
How we make money is a heading at the bottom of Vox.com, by the way, if you're interested. But again, they're very clear about, like, there is a membership that they do. They have grants. They do advertising, things like that. So, there is pressure from the top. But again, I'm skimming that article that you shared there from Nilay Patel, with talking with Nilay Patel, and it says, hey, we could chase the integrated ads and everything like everybody else, but we don't feel like that's the way to go. And that's a conscious choice. And I think that's something that hopefully speaks to the quality they're trying to bring. And knowing the Vox, the Vox properties, I do know, like, they're usually a higher quality. Write stories different that are more accessible but not dumbed down, if that makes sense. I actually appreciate Axios is in my Apple News feed a lot, and I do appreciate, again, it's like world news, political news, this stuff that I'm not grasping all the minutia of it, but they do, like, this means this means this is one of the takes, this is another take on this. Like, they're kind of internally doing an all sides kind of thing, as part of it. Some people say this means this, some people say this means this, and it's like, what do you think, kind of thing. Like, I appreciate that. And again, The Verge, I think, has always been a well-written one too. So anyways, I promised something earlier, didn't I? Oh, yes.
You did.
I had made a proclamation this week to remind people. Everybody's been really happy about deleting their Twitter account, their X account, whatever the case may be, and felt how cleansed they are to not be a part of that anymore. And that's fine. If that's what you need for yourself, that's fine. But I do kind of pose a consideration. Now, again, this is from the angle of, I work with a lot of professional wrestlers, a lot of companies, have my own brands for, like, this podcast, and myself at Sorgatron, I try to present as a little bit of a personal brand kind of situation. To which I pose the comment: do not delete your Twitter. Do not delete actually just about anything that you are leaving a platform functionally for. You can say, you can move on to the other one, and you'll be leaving like, oh, but I'm leaving all my stuff behind there. You can delete all your tweets. Feel free to do that. I love Mark Cuban was talking about, he has an app that just deletes all of his tweets after so long, because contexts change. Something you said in 2012 may mean something different in 2024, and you might get called out for it, which may only been instant enough, but that's a good thing for I stand by. I'll deal with it when it comes to it. So from that, not that I think I've been terribly divisive on Twitter, but anyways, who knows, right? Because that line keeps shifting too. But the idea is, go to your Blue Sky, go to your Threads. I actually encourage it. At this point, functionally, and for new communities and refreshed communities and everything, and the new tools that you actually have access to be able to take better advantage and be part of these communities over here. But you don't want, the last thing I need is to delete and separate my brand from something like X, Twitter, and then somebody else. And yes, no, I don't own my name over there. I don't own my space. I don't know own my followers. I know that, and I know somebody can decide to take that away from me if they decide to, at any point, right? But in the meantime, if you have personally taken your thing off of there, now you have opened your name up to somebody else.
Right.
I always encourage, if there's a new platform and you don't even know if you want to be on there, but you are somebody that likes to put something out there, likes to be creative, needs to sell something, talk about something, be a presence online, and want that consistency, go get your damn name. Go get it. Even if it's a platform where you're like, I'm never talking on this thing because it's a cesspool, at least make sure nobody is on there that is in the cesspool that has your name. Because what can happen now is I leave said platform, take my Sorgatron name with me, delete the account, don't want anything to do with it, and walk away. Great. Somebody else who may be diametrically opposed to you personally online, personality-wise online, can now take that up. Now, I have made a very conscious effort that if you type in Sorgatron, you're going to get all my stuff, right? If nobody else is using this name, it's my brand. Anybody else that would want to would look in Google and say, oh no, look, there's that guy. Now, if you're on something that's still like declining, but still a prominent thing that's going to show up in a search engine like X.com, like it or not, that's a fact. Somebody else takes your name, does some content that you are not on board with, guess what's going to potentially come up in your searches when somebody's searching for your stuff?
Exactly.
Your name, your personality. You now muddied those waters when it comes to that. So don't post anything. You can just say, hey, I'm over here, and walk away, but leave it there. It's there. Again, feel free. Delete all your tweets. That's fine. Delete all your posts, but leave it there. Leave the bookmark there. Because just like it's so easy that someone can buy one of these things and ruin it for you, someone can easily buy it when they go bankrupt and rejuvenate it later. Plurk.com is still a thing, mostly in Korea, but it's still a thing, and I got a username over there. And sometimes, maybe Plurk maybe that'll be the next thing, and we'll roll back to that. So, couldn't get a social media thing without Plurk being mentioned there. So. But I don't know, Dave, you're on most of these platforms. You're kind of dealing with the same thing yourself. You're a fellow podcaster with a little bit of a, small but enough of a brand name to want to protect it. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, you haven't deleted any accounts or anything, right?
No.
Whose house is that? Whose house is that behind you?
Well, you mentioned about the Christmas. You were distracted by the pretty Christmas, so I decided to put the outside of my house.
Well, there goes
this Christmas lights.
Oh, that looks nice. I like what you did with your bushes and everything. Dave. Those are some nice bushes. Good job.
You.
Good job with the bushes. By the way, I realized that I have trees because this is the first time I've decorated in the studio since like 2018. And then I looked around and I realized like, oh, I have like a tree in my front yard now that's not too tall. I might throw some lights at it and see what happens. But also I need to go get some outdoor lights because these ones I don't trust these ones. I don't have a string of lights. No. I don't have a string of lights with all the lights on. Like they're just. I just threw a bunch of. I just threw a bunch of them around the tree. I'm like, looks good enough. So now John's gonna be looking for the out lights. That's how you look at my tree. Anyways, Dave, you were saying about Twitter.
Yeah, and honestly, when there was before it was sold to the person. Even at that point,
he shall not be named on this show. He's the
exactly.
Voldemort of this show. I love this.
There's so many. I put in my bio on Twitter, also known as ProfPod on blah 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 blah, and ProfPod PGH on TikTok. So if something went weird, and like I said, I'm not on Twitter that much. I'm on it because there's a couple people who I haven't found other places, but for the most part, and honestly, there's still it's still a little more active for live events than Blue Sky.
Yes, absolutely. That's where you go. Yes.
Yeah. So especially, let's say when there's a live TV show, when something very talked about goes on, it's easier for me to find people talking about it on Twitter still than Blue Sky. It's getting better.
It's getting better.
Having
Wrestling
volume,
Twitter has definitely moved. Wrestling Twitter has definitely moved. Yeah, absolutely. But Twitter is definitely going to be the first place for large events. But
Right.
that is honestly like, and if you really want to know, like you poke at all of them. Like I love when big events happen. Like I want to see I want to get to the Super Bowl. I want to get to WrestleMania and look at all four and see where we're at. You know, but so many news sources have moved and left. So like I think that's significant, and that's going to start changing the game. But for personal commentary, you're right. It's still going to be. I mean, they still do have
the volume.
500 million users over there,
Right,
I think
right.
worldwide. So like, there's not like for that mass, you know, that's still going to be a thing. It's going to be a thing for a while, regardless. You know,
and honestly, I don't see myself deleting Twitter.
No.
I see myself using it less and less.
You know what? You know what is really pushing me? You get that Black Friday notification this weekend.
Oh yes.
Guess just went in notification jail. So don't at me, brother. It's become which also means it becomes more of a conscious choice to go to the application. Oh, that's why, because I always go through, because I at myself when I put the show out, and then I'll go through my notifications and make sure I do the repost. And I'm like, oh, why didn't Twitter come out? Oh, right, that's right. I have to actually go there and do that, which is a personal putting more friction on it, you know, which will again, I hope encourages both your mental health and pushes you away from a platform that you have an issue with, you know. So, you know, it kind of it starts if you act on everything that pisses you off in a productive way, which means blocking, turning off notifications, you will find yourself with a better experience. If you make, as we say on Fishing Without Bait, the mindfulness podcast, actionable items for improvement. Don't just sit there hoping for things to happen.
Right. You have to make the change yourself and do it. And also, and I would say one of the main reasons I go on Twitter multiple times a day is to post clips from fishing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right, because that's your job. That's your job. It's what we do. And we get responses on there. So, you know, it's not, there's sobriety Twitter is still alive. so we have to be there for it. Is that, I've never referred to it as that before. That's pretty much what it is, isn't it? So
it's there's a group on there called Sober Gang.
Yeah, the Sober Gang. I know, I see those. Yeah. But then you also see the this definitely isn't a real person pretending to be sober post too. You probably noticed some of the trends. I need to talk to our client and be like, hey, don't like those. Don't.
Well, the other thing I'm starting to use, believe it or not, for specifically wrestling, very quick responses is TikTok.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because people who are either showing themselves reacting to something on TV or something on a pay-per-view they're watching, or the next day we all know this isn't legal, but if you're a small enough creator, you know, TKO's not coming after you. AEW, they probably won't come after you either, but they'll have like the video down below or the video on top and them down below reacting to it, which is useful when you're doing something like I was doing iPhoneography podcast last night from 9 to around 10:30. So I happened to miss something big that happened on Monday Night Raw last night.
We'll talk about that on our show.
Yes. And it was like, I could see the group chat for Mayhem show and everyone losing their mind. And I'm like, okay, I can't really, I don't want to stream it on the computer I'm doing a podcast on because I want to pay attention to the podcast. But you're getting like, oh no, I feel sick. Why are they doing this? You know, it's like, oh my God, what is happening on this show?
Yes. You want to find a place to refresh. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I went on TikTok, you know, today or even later last night, and I could see clips and see people's reactions. Or like I said, one person who was just on their couch saying, oh no, don't touch him. Don't touch him. Oh no, don't say that. And it's like, oh, this is good. Yeah,
we'll talk about the emotions later on the Wrestling Mayhem show. So, but Dave, thank you so much for hanging with us. We're actually going long. I love it. There's only two of us, and we're going over time. So I think we went early last week with everybody on. But anyways, but no, thank you so much. iPhoneography podcast, as we mentioned, where you guys talk photography on your phones.
Yeah, we all the show that will come out tomorrow, recorded last night. We all have iPhone 16 Pro Maxes.
Woo!
And we all were able to
Sames.
Exactly. After a couple months, or in my case, a little bit, a few weeks, not the immediate review, but actually living with it for a while, in the good and the bad, and what we like and what we don't like about it.
Excellent. At Sorgatron on all social media, as you can see everything is going on there. You can see me as a Christmas tree, and whatever else is going on. This next couple of days are going to be interesting, so keep an eye out. And, of course, follow all the awesomeness at awesomecast.com, sorgatronmedia.com. Follow all the social medias. Please interact with us. I mean, actually, it's been interesting to see who's been getting a little bit more different retweets on some of the platforms and everything as we're expanding out. So it's pretty cool to see that. Thank you for our awesome helper, John, helping out over there as well and getting the links out in the social medias and everything. And we're going to see how much that helps the show here. And again, Dave, we'll do a little bit of Patreon here, hang out for a minute because I feel like we have plenty more to talk about. Thank you, everybody. You've been our awesome audience. Have an awesome week. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at